Another commonly asked and quite frankly fair question with regards to fascia is why now? How come I haven't heard more about this sooner? Why wasn't this in my undergrad catalog or what have you? And I think that these are fair points, but there's a very distinct reason as to why this is. And if we take a look quickly at the history of fascia, so to speak, what we found is that we have identified and defined fascia for a very long time. Once again, there's nothing new about a biological system or structure that is just a part of who we are. It's a part of the human body. And even though we can trace this back through medical journals for 400 or 500 years, the distinction is that although we identified it, we did not really understand what the significance or influence of this tissue is or was. And a part of that is because of the complexity to the tissue. Fascia is very messy. And again, to use some of the same terms, there's almost like a greasy and very nebulous type of look to it or existence, so to speak. So for many years, for decades and centuries, we just knew that it was there. It was defined to be this inert packing or filler tissue that didn't really have any functionality within the body, and so we just discarded it. Up until recently, while the technology and the sophistication of our research has started to catch up, there was a distinct point around 2007 or 2008 where we started to get a little bit of a resurgence with studying and understanding what fascial tissue is. And loosely speaking, this is seen as the modernization of fascia, in which we started to look at this with a little bit of a different significance. It wasn't until this time that we started to have formations of governing bodies and credentialing bodies that were able to study this in a more appropriate fashion and then be able to distribute information on fascia more specifically with how it is regarded in movement, performance, and then injury restoration and pain. Another problem that we've had with our understanding of fascia speaks to the cadaveric research process. And at least within America, the majority of cadaveric research is performed on bodies that have been dumped in formaldehyde, dumped in embalming fluid. There's a chemicalization and a preservation process that collectively dehydrates the body of its fluid environment. This significantly alters the functionality of the human body and how we move in real time or in real life. With this embalmment and chemicalization process, it essentially denigrates the fascial tissue and evaporates the fluid from the body. This gives us a significantly distorted view of how tissues work and how muscles function. With regards to the fascial anatomy, when we have bodies that have not been embalmed or dumped in formaldehyde, we have a much greater ability to understand what this tissue does and how it looks within the physical environment. As we continue to improve our methods for understanding not just fascia, but the human biology collectively, and as we're able to have more sophisticated methods to be able to do, there's a great promise that over the next several decades, we will start to uncover much more about how fascia functions within the body, what its significance is for performance, for movement, for injury, and probably have a much greater understanding of how this is occurring in real time as our technology and our ability to study the human body continues to improve. The first thing that we need to understand is that fascia is inextricably linked to muscle and to these other biological structures. In no way, shape, or form are we suggesting that the fascial tissue can be isolated and trained in this uniquely or abstractly different specific way from these other structures of the body. At the end of the day, the human body is completely integrated. It's a system of systems. The point that we are trying to get across or address with fascia specifically is that within all of these different biological structures, we have a very good understanding of the majority of them, but we've happened to neglect the fascial system for several decades, and it does have significance and importance. So our goal or our effort is to just try to bevy the scales a little bit and provide better information or more information on the fascial system specifically, so that we can interject it to the anatomy and the movement principles and the training concepts that we all already have and adhere to. This should be seen as more of a change in perspective or philosophy than it is in practice. What we hope to get across with this course is that through this improved understanding and comprehension of fascial anatomy and function, it will deeply challenge your thought on how your current programming exists and how it could potentially be improved by just making small modifications or small inclusions here or there that will help to, again, better address and better stimulate the contractile tissue and the connective tissue structures. This is going to have great ramifications for warm-up and movement prep, for accessory options in your training, for the recovery and the restoration options that you include throughout your training. We believe that this improved comprehension of fascial anatomy and how it relates to performance and to training helps to promote a better philosophy for human movement and training and how these things coexist. We also believe that there isn't necessarily anything that is right or wrong about what has been the contemporary model. We just believe that with an absent fascial perspective, it provides an incomplete solution in most cases. So with all things being equal, improving your understanding of fascial anatomy helps to saturate your conventional anatomy and then helps to promote a better opportunity to have a greater philosophy for human movement training and performance.